Well, I might be the unpopular guy, but I'm not going to say ditto. Unfortunately, a lot of our community is struggling right now financially, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. There are going to be programs that have to be cut. It's unfortunate. I don't want to see a single one of them cut. If there's any way to keep them and not put the burden so heavily on people that are already overburdened with taxes, then we'll do it. But some things will have to be cut. Obviously, education, the most important thing, we don't want to take away from that. Extracurricular activities, we have to look at and decide which ones are going to need to go. What aren't we going to be able to save? It's going to happen. And over the next several years, the budget's going to continue to get tougher and tougher and tougher. If we don't start making the cuts now, in a couple of years, we are going to be in very, very sad shape. We have to just prioritize. And as I say, you know, we want to make it the less impact on the students as possible. But there is going to be some impact, and we have to be very wise about how we do it. We just have to consult with the community as the board member and find out where we can do that and how we can do that. And be as transparent about why we're doing it and how we do it as possible. Thanks.
Mrs. Hartford.
I've heard everybody's talk here except Mr. Nickel. So I would say, first of all, we can't predict the future. No one can, but we can plan for the future. So if we would look at what we have now, and let's start planning for the next 3 to 5 years, and what we want to see 5 years from now, and what that will cost us to get there, and preserve what we have. Because we have value in the dollars that we're spending right now. And I think that's most important for everybody to realize. And I think the community and everyone needs to be involved in the process. The budget tied to, we have a new strategic plan that's going to be up for 6 years. That strategic plan is an educational curriculum plan, facility plan, everything that should be tied to our budget. And we should be looking at those two things together. I think that's the most important thing that we as a community look at and preserve what we have now.
Mr. Nichols.
I think it's been pretty well covered. We want to stay as far away from education as we can possibly stay away because look at what we have to do and move out. One of the things I hate to see cut, I must say, is the planetarium. I'm going to do whatever I can to get that back. Maybe we have to look at the way we do things in the district as far as maintenance goes, as far as groundskeeping goes, our consumption of electricity, all those things that we can, where we can save money to preserve the system we have in place right now. We have the best students in Berks County. We're going to keep them. Thank you.
Next question. Do you feel that foreign languages are an important part of the academic program, and at what grade should they be introduced? Again, do you feel that foreign languages are an important part of the academic program, and at what grade should they be introduced? And we will start with Mrs. Usavage.
Okay, another one of my favorite topics. Foreign language, our school, I think we should all be embarrassed of where our school sits today with respect to teaching foreign languages. I did some research last year when we had an opportunity to introduce foreign languages a grade earlier, which still is not on par with what other districts around us are doing. The research showed that most schools are introducing language, at least in some exploratory way, in the elementary grades. And there's so much research that shows that when you learn a foreign language, it helps your brain development. It helps you learn in other ways. It is so valuable. And then, you know, our kids go to college, and they're saying to me, Mom, I just met this person who speaks 4 languages. I only ever had a chance to learn 1. And right now the cuts, you know, the worst case cuts would bring our foreign language back from 3 years of language in several languages to 2 different languages for 2 years, and that's totally unacceptable. So in short, the answer is as early as possible, starting in the primary grades.
Mr. Elsier.
Okay, as far as foreign language, a couple thoughts. As an overall strategy, the earlier we teach, the better. To Donna's point, you meet people from other countries, you read about other countries, and folks almost in any other country speak at least 2 languages. I read about exchange students coming to Boyertown. They obviously know their native language, Danish, German, whatever it is, and of course English, amongst others. And I've met people from around the world. So I'm all for the earlier the better. I think it would help the student to learn earlier. When I went through school, I had French in elementary school. Now, you don't use it, you lose it, so I know just a little anymore, but the point is I did have that opportunity, and I would welcome that for our students as well. And the last piece of that is, whether we like it or not, we have a world economy now. So when our students graduate, unlike even 10, 20, 30 years ago, you pretty much competed just with folks in the United States. Well, we are now competing Chinese, India, Vietnamese, the whole world, and foreign languages needs to be a part of that, part of their education. Thank you.
Mr. Parsons.
I do believe foreign languages are definitely important. As was stated before, we as a country fall far behind most major countries out there whose children speak 2, 3, 4 languages, no doubt about it. And learning as a child is much easier than as an adult. I had 4 years of Spanish from 9th grade up, and I probably couldn't tell you when my pencil was yellow in Spanish anymore, so it did not stick with me. I think we need to take a look at what languages we are learning, because I do feel that some languages no longer hold any value. In particular, unfortunately, like French is not a very popular language, and it's not a needed language out in the job market. We need to look at languages that are actually going to help our kids in the future possibly use for employment, which is why we are educated. But yes, I do believe we should start earlier and allow these children to have it their entire school career and be able to be well versed in those languages and not just say my pencil is yellow. Thanks.
Mrs. Hartford.
Well, for those of you who know me, you know that I started a petition for foreign language when my sons were actually in 5th and 7th grade. And as I said, my 7th grader is now graduating college, and we still don't have foreign language in 8th grade in our schools. So I will continue to try and put foreign language at an early age. I agree with Mrs. Savage that we should look at it from K to 12. And that if you look at the fact that our society and our country alone, that the second language, if not passing us on, is Spanish. So it would be very good that all of our students were able to speak Spanish. It would be very helpful to them in the employment area, and they could possibly get almost any job just because they can speak Spanish. They speak 2 languages. So I would say I am for bringing in foreign language, the sooner the better. The other side of that is, once again, if we look at a strategic plan and how the dollars are going to fund all of this, we need to tie it all together that way.
Mr. Nichols.
I can say that the 3 incumbents on this board all supported languages last year, but we weren't successful in it. I personally would like to see us learn Mandarin Chinese, because then we could complain to them when their stuff falls apart. And my niece is stood up and sang happy birthday to me in French. It was wonderful. I just think it's so important. And the younger they are, the easier they learn. And you know, that's why we should be going down with that. I think the older students think they're not interested anymore. And when they're young, they automatically pick it up, you know? And I know I moved up here from Germantown when I was 10 years old, and I went to Landstor Schoolhouse. I'm an alumni there, by the way. And you know, that the little kids came there, they only spoke German. They didn't even speak English. You know, so they learned that language, you know, like I learned English. It just was there. 30 seconds, okay. All right, that's about it for me, but I think we really need language. Thank you.
Mr. Crispin.
I would agree that we need to picture you're going through the smorgasbord at Shady Maple. And you know how you fill up your plate and you fill it up and you fill it up. And then if we say to the teachers, oh, by the way, you need to do all of that, and we're just going to add to it foreign language, I think that could be a problem. But do I think the children would benefit down in the elementary? My goodness, yes. I have my wife and I, we're grandparents. We have a granddaughter. She's half Taiwanese, so she's learning Chinese from her mom and from her grandparents on that side. But I see how quickly she learns it. So I think the elementary children could learn it quickly. I think it would benefit. But again, we would need to have more. Something has to be taken off the plate on language.